Yeah,
I nearly forgot.
You nearly forgot, Andy. Everyone was starting to wonder whether you're actually on this week or not, if that was a bit of false advertising. Good evening, it is the Daytrippers. It's Ray, your host this week, and I've got Andy and Davo who've joined me, and Neilo will be joining us soon. Before we get into introductions fully, I'm just going to go into the chat because there are a few people there nice and early. Avo, Laura Duffy, Emmett, Kavanagh, Chris Brack. Good evening, lads and girls, and hello to everyone else who's joined us. So, Andy, how are you doing?
Oh, good, Ray.
Excellent,
really
excellent.
Good,
really good after the weekend.
Yeah, really good after the weekend, and I absolutely love Christmas. We're top of the league at Christmas again.
Yeah.
This is stuff we could only have dreamt up.
Yeah, it's Liverpool, and yet again the threat is Leicester as we go into the Christmas period. Davo, how are you? You must be on an extra special high. You had Liverpool and then the Dubs.
Yeah, great, absolute great Saturday. Some double, Liverpool top of the league, and then the Dubs getting 6 in a row. Great Saturday, Dicko.
How did you put yourself back together on Sunday?
Oh, it was fine. I stayed in the Guinness in the pub. I didn't go mad like Jamie Home now on whiskey or anything like that, and he was peeling himself off the deck on Sunday by all accounts. So no, I was sensible enough.
Excellent. Right. And Neilo will be joining us very soon. We've got 4 topics tonight. We will look to get a 5th one out of the group chat at some point across the evening. Someone will pick that up for us. The topics we're going to discuss tonight, we'll start with Andy, and it's about Fabinho and his future role in the side, especially as we start to get bodies back over the coming weeks and months. We'll then go on to Shane, who wanted to talk about promoted sides and the various styles. We obviously seen Leeds stick with their approach and get kind of dismantled by Man United over the weekend, and I guess there's some contrasting styles. Some teams have grown slowly into the season, like Fulham. So we'll touch on that. Then I will have a little bit of a discussion about the little bit of an advantage that I think the likes of Liverpool and Everton are getting at the moment over some other teams by having fans in the ground, and we'll still hopefully have fans in the ground over the next few weeks. And you're right, Chris, I have been thrown out into the shed. I haven't managed to paint the roof yet, Chris Brack, but I'm getting there. And then Neilo is going to come on and discuss loyalty and should we really expect loyalty. And talking of loyalty, here's one of our most loyal Daytrippers. It is Neilo.
Currently in sepia.
Oh, Neilo stepping back in time.
His voice is out of sync, though.
Is it? Oh,
is it for fucking balls sake?
That's not too bad. That's not too bad. Say something.
What would you like me to say, Andy?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what to say anymore, to be honest with you.
It's a great ventriloquist impression that Neilo's doing there. You can never be disappointed.
Do you want to try going out and coming back in?
I'll try fucking this out the fucking window.
Right. just try that, right? Okay.
Right. We'll give Neilo one more chance. So whilst we wait for Neilo to come in and sort of distract us again, we'll go on to Andy's topic, which is about Fabinho and his role in the side, and Neilo and his role in the Daytrippers. Are you back, Neilo?
No, he didn't leave properly. Like, I mean,
I think he's loyal from Aleppo. Signal is bad, isn't it?
Right, we'll ignore Neilo for now.
I'm just gonna kick from the studio for a minute, right? Okay. Now he's gone.
Fabinho. Look, we've seen obviously him grow into this role. For me, he's just taken on the mantle of Van Dijk in that defence. Oh, it's going to be a bit of a conundrum, isn't it? When we start getting players back, for example, if we had Gomez and Matip available, or when Van Dijk comes back in about 4 weeks, based on his latest videos that have come out today. What do you see as Fabinho's future role, even beyond this season, Andy?
Yeah, look, it's become a real conundrum, which is a great thing. To be honest, I thought we'd lose a lot of midfield without Fabinho. I think all the strengths are in midfield. I think he's able to play that defensive midfield role very high up. He's able to win the ball quickly and get an attack going, and create a chance more so than any other midfielder could do so. Like, look, Henderson and Wijnaldum have their qualities in the middle. They're brilliant, but Fabinho has this knack of just winning the ball up high. Although he's playing the defensive midfield role, he just goes, he gets it, and he's brilliant. And I thought we'd lose an awful lot in our midfield because of it, but we haven't. Henderson's been excellent. Wijnaldum's been excellent, and Keita coming in the weekend, he was also excellent. And with THIAGO to come back into midfield, who's going to improve us, no doubt about it. And then Curtis Jones has been phenomenal. So now the discussion has to take place: is his future at centre back? I mean, I don't know. I don't think the question's been fully answered yet, but he's exceeded my expectations. I mean, when he came in, he'd probably played in top games. He played against Arsenal, Chelsea, and Bayern Munich. Excellent against Bayern Munich, and excellent against was it Arsenal or Chelsea? I can't remember, but anyway, he was good. But now, the first mistake I've really seen him making since he's been there was when Ayew went one-on-one with him. He kind of tried to, he was a bit too casual about his header, and then Ayew got the ball off, and he should have squared it to Salah for an easy finish. He's not a centre-back, he's a centre midfielder, but when you are talking about a team of Liverpool's quality, challenging for Champions Leagues, challenging for leagues, players often have to find new positions. So I think it's worth the debate. Can we improve on what we have in midfield, or can we improve on what we have at the back? Do we sell one of our centre-backs that's injured, like Matip or Gomez, and bring in a centre-back and wait and see what happens, and just use Fabinho there? We've got Williams now, who Klopp fancies, and we have Phillips, who's been excellent. So I think it's worth a debate anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Davo, how much do you think, if you were to buy in Fabinho as a centre-back now, how much do you think we'd have to pay for someone of that equivalent level? Which bracket do you think we'd be shopping in?
For the performance for somebody that he's put in for this season. Well, you see, on the flip side of what you're saying there, Dicko, is how much would he cost? If we were going out to sign a centre back, we'd be signing actually a centre back, not a holding midfielder who's gone back. So you'd imagine he'd have more of a body of work. But if he was putting in the performance Fabinho's been putting in the back this season, you're definitely talking north of 50 million. You're talking in and around that 50 million bracket. Because, like Andy said, what happened to Van Dijk, I'm more knee-jerk than others as well. I just thought, that's just probably the worst possible injury you could get. How do you defend the title when you're missing the best centre-back in the world? And with a few exceptions, it's been seamless. Really, obviously, the Villa game was a hard one to take. But Andy mentioned the Ayew opportunity. I think he'd have been disappointed with the Spurs chance that hit the bar during the week. He lost a header to Son, who flicked it on for Bergwijn. He'd probably be disappointed with that. But listen, he's not a centre back. He's learning on the go in a team that's expected to win every week, and for the majority of weeks, win fairly comfortably every week. So I don't think that can be underestimated at all. He's been absolutely fantastic.
I think the one thing that's striking from the chat, and this has actually got a lot of people contributing in the chat. There seems to be a lot of support for him staying at centre back. Maybe not even just this season, but beyond. And I guess Red Steve says where Fab ends up depends on who we sign in the next 2 windows, and it might be around, availability of players that Klopp wants to bring into the club. There's another one here around, depending on Genie's future, whether Genie stays. And if he does, then maybe that's more indication that Fabinho stays at centre back. Neilo,
Is that working now?
Yeah.
I'd say so. Yeah,
Okay, nice one.
absolutely delighted. David Lennon seems to be a particular fan of yours, Neilo. He's absolutely delighted that you're back with us tonight.
Nice one.
You've got a fan or two out there anyway.
Yeah, at least
So
so fucking one, man. He obviously doesn't know me that well.
So Neilo, we're in the middle of discussing Fabinho and whether his future lies at centre back or back in his defensive midfield role when players are back from injury. What's your hot take?
Well, he was always, when he was bought, he was always considered as a backup to a centre half backup anyway. So like he's really, really good in both positions. So to pin him down to either position, it doesn't really fucking matter, does it? Like wherever, horses for courses, whatever he's best suited. I don't think there's going to be too much complaints to anybody if he plays in midfield or he plays a centre half. Either way, he's a big influence on the game and other people that are around him, regardless. So whether he plays centre half or midfield, I'm not going to get me knickers on the nut over that. I wouldn't be too worried about it. The lad's capable of playing anywhere.
And that's the bonus of having a player like this, isn't it? His quality is there, whether he plays centre back.
He's just a really, really good footballer who can play anywhere.
Yeah.
That is true.
Without a doubt.
And it's starting to look like one of the best bits of business we've done. I know we've done a lot of great deals in hindsight.
He's absolutely crucial. He's absolutely crucial, and his importance and his relevance to the team and the squad has really come to the fore now with the bit of an injury crisis that we have at the minute. I mean, he's so adaptable. He's like Steve Nicol was back in the 80s there when Dukes of Hazzard was on the telly. I think you'll find the last man to get British Player of the Year. Side note. So anyway, just regardless, yeah, he's a great player. He's really good. I really like him. Well done, him. Jersey with 5 on the back.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, he was
his
actually
man is a bit of a sap.
You're not a fan of their contributions?
No. She should just shut up.
No, his form was actually pretty poor, wasn't it, when he came back into the side after that period of time that he was out with the injury? He just didn't seem to get back up to the pace that was required. And
I think he might have came back a little bit earlier than he would have done if we had a fuller squad. I think he was rushed back a little bit early, so it was harder for him to adjust, and he probably didn't want to push himself with the injury probably still in the back of his mind, but it's gone out of his head now and he's brand new.
Yeah. Okay, look.
And all right, you're right.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent contribution.
We're just happy that you're there and he's working.
I'm just happy I'm here for another Christmas as well, Andy. Many years.
Neilo, you're the king, I'm telling you.
They actually let me out. Remember I broke my neck that time? They let me out of rehab for Christmas.
Did they?
What
really?
a day! What a day that was! What a day!
It was really nice of them.
What a day! Yeah, what a day!
Come here.
Just went straight to the Laurels in Clondalkin Village and drank 14 bottles of Miller.
How much does the player have to do with this? Like, we've heard Milner not particularly liking playing left back.
Yeah.
Or, he wants to play in the middle or whatever. Would Fabinho have a preference? Surely centre midfielders all see themselves as centre midfielders nowhere else, don't they? It's kind of it's an institute nearly that if you're taking out that position, it's almost an insult. You're not quite good enough to play in the engine room. We're going to play you centre back. Is that for a player who's world class, like he's elite in his position? There's nobody else that can play our type of.
Busquets was at his best at the position he's in now. I'd say in my opinion, he's that good. But I think it's a distinctly British-Irish thing about that. Having this is my position, I play here. I think it's if other nationalities, in my opinion, don't seem to get so caught up in that. I mean, you can see it in rugby as well. I know this is a football podcast, but I'm going to digress into rugby if you don't mind.
Go for it.
All right. I'm just going to put my collar up here and get a pair of dubs on. Yeah, guys, the rugby. No, sorry. When you see it like rugby, for example, like when John Maloney was coming through, when he was coming through, if he was British, he would have been a prop forward, or if he was Irish, he would have been a prop forward. But they stuck him out in the wing. I think it's like I think we tend to get hung up on positions that I really don't think it's such a big deal. I'm going to say on the continent. So I think you hear Milner say he doesn't want to play left back. Like, did anyone actually hear him saying that? Or is that just some mongo doing commentary?
No, it's not a rumour. That's something that Klopp has even talked about. He's saying, I know James doesn't particularly like playing there, but you know, he's always done a job for us when asked.
The difference for Milner there is you have a player there who's coming to the end of his career. Like he was when he signed for Liverpool under Rodgers, it was, I think the common knowledge was on the pretense to play in the middle of the park. Rodgers loses his job, Klopp comes in, he becomes more a utility player. Of course, he'd rather play in midfield than in left full. But with Fabinho, on the flip side with Fabinho, if someone who's kind of really at the start of his career, what was Fabinho, 24, 25? I actually don't. Yeah, like so you've somebody there who's kind of at the peak of their powers in midfield. And Neilo mentioned horses for courses there earlier. That's exactly what it is. If you're Fabinho, could need to play in games where you have the likes of Man City at home, or when you go to Man City, or if you go to Old Trafford trying to stop counter attacks and stuff like that. But on the flip side, then if you're at home to West Brom, or you're at home to whoever, Fulham, you don't particularly need a defensive holding midfield player. THIAGO can sit in there and do that and pull the strings. Or Henderson, if you wanted to let THIAGO play a little bit higher. So it is a horses for courses thing as regards Fabinho. Like Neilo said, he'll play where he's needed, and in a squad with that much quality that Liverpool have. I think rather than saying where you want to play, I just think
just happy to get a game.
Yeah, take whatever jersey you can get. You know what I mean? Especially if we keep recruiting as well as we're doing.
Well, there's an interesting comment from Fred Flunk. Is he an emergency? Like, so there was another comment there saying that he's an emergency centre back, and he's asking, is he an emergency centre back? He's smoking cigars in that position. I suppose you have to look at the facts that he's not necessarily playing a traditional centre back role. We have possession most of the games, and he's getting to do things that he would do for midfield anyway, from a midfield screening role. So it's not like he can't enjoy that position. It's like Trent isn't really a right back. Robertson's not really a left back. They're getting involved in patterns of play that players that have gone before them, that we compare them through the ages of being, whether they're best left backs or best right backs, they're not really playing that position. They're having to defend for 5% of the game, and the rest of the time they're in possession, or they're getting forward and they're really loving their football.
It's very fluid.
Yeah, it is very fluid, and
particularly at home, Andy. Particularly at home, you'll see him in those positions which he would be playing as a defensive midfielder regularly. Still, even now, playing as centre back at Anfield. There's and the other aspect as well, Andy, for me, is that he's guiding. You say there's comments about him smoking cigars, but let's not underestimate how much reassurance he's given to the likes of Reece Williams and Nat Phillips when they're playing next to him. Like I think he's probably smoking cigars more so when he's got a natural centre back, and a more experienced centre back like Matip next to him, like he was at the weekend. But look, he's being. I think he's a massive influence on them young lads and sort of managing them through a game.
He's meant to be very vocal, I think, right, in games that I wouldn't have picked up on from the telly. Do you know what I mean? But according to a couple of journalists have said it maybe with the echo and that he is the vocal one back there. He's the one kind of telling lads what to do and stuff like that, which kind of surprised me a little bit, probably due to the lack of English not being his main language.
You can cut this cunt in every language. No matter what, you stupid cunt. You can say that, anybody will understand.
He's obviously stepped up. He's stepped up big time in that regard as well. So look, he's obviously now probably knows he needs to step into the breach that Van Dijk has left.
I'm like your man from Erasure here on top of the pops with the two laptops, trying to get this other one working. What's his name? Vince Clark, was it?
I don't
know. It's just incredible that every week we hear of something you didn't kind of know about your own players, like something really, something so big as he's such a communicator of the team, or a leader. I mean, I find myself.
We haven't a fucking clue, Andy, what's going on. You know that
I just like find myself,
in the training camp.
You know, yeah, 100%. Like, you're pinching yourself every week, like the things you learn. Like, there's Fabinho. Like, some might see him around the league as just another cog, but fuck me, like, all these players are just having such an impact on what's going on at the moment. And I mean, I know we probably talk about the award, the BBC award. Well, I mean, that was just another moment, another jaw-dropping moment when you listen to Klopp and Henderson talking about what's going on at the moment. It's not going to get better than this, lads.
Do you know what? It's always not Liverpool. You can see start talking about big cogs and not players and not just a squad number. Look at companies. The City are still struggling. Still haven't replaced him. And not just a player, as to say, but the man he was and how big of an influence he was. I mean, everybody knew he was captain.
But you know what that is? Pep doesn't instill the same sort of culture as Klopp.
That's my point. Company instilled that for them.
Yeah. Klopp can.
Andy, I think you're right. I think Klopp kind of instills a culture where you overcome things that go against. So I think City kind of probably feel a little bit sorry for themselves if things go against them in regards of, like, that Laporte was missing for a large chunk of last year, and that was given as the main reason that they didn't challenge last year, when it wasn't really that. We just fucking blew them out of the water, and they were poor. And Pep alluded to it as well. Well, we couldn't spend the money that United could spend on a centre back and Harry Maguire. Then they're starting crying foul about not having money. Like, are they for real? It just seems to be Klopp's still an overcoming culture.
I think it's an injustice to Klopp to say that he's brought in this siege mentality that managers have brought in the English game for the last 30 years. That's a load of bollocks. This siege mentality thing is a load of shit. What Klopp is doing is more nuanced than a siege mentality. And, like, he's not just saying, listen, everybody hates us, so we have to beat them. That's ridiculous. It's more nuanced. It's much more complicated than that. They're not just thinking the whole world is against them. It's, we have to be better than everybody else rather than everybody's out to get us. I mean, there was a couple of things in the press there saying about Genie, what he said, let's not repeat the first half or whatever the fuck. Like, there's a lot of lads who bring a lot more to it than just their game. And I think, what's the phrase, mentality monsters. But I think commentators on BC Sports were saying he's instilled this siege mentality. That's to undersell what he's doing. What he's done is a little bit more than fucking that now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think also, if you what Fred's saying here, the win now, next man up.
Who the fuck is Fred?
Mentality.
Oh, okay.
It's very popular, Fred Flunk, tonight. He's getting all his comments thrown up in there. No, I think it goes a little bit beyond that. Next man up, for me, it's now got to a point where, especially because of the injuries and the type of season that it is, I think what Klopp has done is he's instead of there being, you referenced company there, Neilo, instead of just being one leader, I think he's managed to nurture about 4 or 5 leaders in the squad, and I think that's a very deliberate thing, because he knows, and
it's encouraged too, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it's encouraged. It's not about one person being bigger than the next. It's about the fact that, you know, you've got Henderson, you've got Van Dijk, you've got Fabinho, you've got Milner. I think you've got maybe even Genie 5th in line. I thought it was obvious when in that Michelin game, when Fabinho, who was really the leader on that pitch at that point, went off, everything started to fall apart. And I think Klopp realised that pretty quickly, and that's when he lashes Henderson on there just to steady the ship. I think what Fabinho's become is one of those core leaders in the squad, and he is now kind of up there, you know, with those others who can really drive us, you know, through tricky games, through tricky situations, keep a calm head.
I think he's like Van Dijk, Ray, isn't he? Like, when he's playing, everybody else kind of feels a lot more comfortable. I mean, they all trust him implicitly.
Yeah,
in what he's doing and how he goes about himself and how he plays the game. So it makes everybody, I think, a little bit more comfortable. Is probably the wrong word. Makes everybody feel a little bit more. Well, yeah, maybe the standard has gone up collectively 5% because Fabinho's in the team, and I think they'd admit that themselves.
Yeah, and Charles there saying all successful teams have more than one leader, and I think that's been a very important characteristic that Klopp has made sure is in this squad.
But it comes from powerful leadership from the manager.
Yeah,
I mean, the biggest trait of any leader is to empower others. And
correct. Yeah.
What he seems to have done is empowered so many players in that squad. I mean, even Curtis Jones is showing leadership traits. It's
I would say
unfortunate.
the greatest trait of a leader is to simultaneously have people love and hate you at the same time.
Would you?
Yeah. Or is that monarchy?
I think yeah, okay.
No, I think the point I was trying to make about Klopp is, rather than saying the siege mentality, I think his style of management is more advanced and it's more in line with the thought process of the current professional footballer. I mean, the lads and professional footballers nowadays compared to even 10 years ago is a completely different animal than it was then, because they've so much more power.
Yeah,
and they have, and their agents, with their agents and their image rights and all that. There's so much more than just a footballer. It's a commercial entity. It's a commercial entity, and I think he can deal with that aspect perfectly well, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's very hard to get the modern pro to buy into somebody else's philosophy when they all have their own kind of beliefs along the way. I mean, these guys are, when they're 16 or 17 years of age, they already think they've made it. So I think you're dead right about Klopp, but there's a lot more to it than just what the people see. Like it is more nuanced. You're dead right. I'd love someone to look into it. Someone who's really qualified. Like, I mean, I'm just an observer like anyone else. I'm no expert, but I'm blown away. I'm blown away by some of the things. Yeah.
I'm just picking up, before we finish off on Fabinho, Olivier says his midfield for the big games is Fabinho. Obviously, this is dependent on everyone being fully fit. Fabinho, THIAGO and Hendo. Where would you say that ranks as a combination there, Andy?
Well, I think that's nonsense, to be honest with you. Anyone who leaves Ronaldo over our strongest midfield in a massive game, you're obviously driven by what you hope you see things being, because what you've witnessed in the last 3 or 4 years is Ronaldo's being one of the most potent players, one of the most important players in that system, and I just can't envision our midfield without him. I'm going to be devastated. I'm going to, what the fuck are you doing now?
He's criminally underrated as a footballer as well. Some of the tight situations, the quick feet, he's unbelievable. Like, he's leaving. Remember the highlights, the turn against Barcelona where he left three of them heading down to the Anfield Road for a coffee, and he's gone the other way. He's a criminally underrated footballer with the ball at his feet. Yes, he can get around the pitch, strong in the tackle, great at shielding the ball, keeping fellas up, and super strong. But I think he's criminally underrated with the ball at his feet. I think he's excellent, and it shows how you're able to play. He generally plays in the front three for Holland. They're certainly a lot higher up the pitch, gets an awful lot of goals. So I think he's outstanding, and it would be sad to see him go.
Yeah, no, like I feel like one of those FSG outists, when I think about the situation.
Are they still a thing, Andy?
Still,
I don't know, but when you feel like you're in a minority, like, I just think it's crazy that we're in this position and he hasn't extended his contract. I think like they have to be just giving him everything he needs, all his wants, all his desires.
I think you have to stick to your principles as well, too, now a little bit.
Well, what principles are possibly preventing? Like, I know they have the thing about when players get older, they don't get them 4-year contracts, but they're giving 4-year contracts to guys who are injured all the time. Give a 4-year contract to a fella who's never been injured.
Can we lead this on? I was going to leave Neilo's topic till last. Let's move on to loyalty. We seem to have gone into that. Space around contracts. I'm not
sure Neilo thinks loyalty was his topic.
I'm not doing the international thing now. Only buzzing out. Go on, only buzzing.
Go on, Neilo. It's contract speak time.
Do you want me to have a bit of a soliloquy lined up here? Will I go for it?
Go for it.
No, come here. What I was thinking was, it's just you read in the press and you hear rumors and you hear people talking about me, mates be talking, my dad talking about it. You read it on Twitter or whatever the fuck, or TikTok, where I'm TikToking there at the minute. Whatever, you just hear, I can't believe he's leaving, or who does he think he is leaving, or what he shouldn't leave, or why is he ex-player talking to the press, or why is he saying such a thing, or why is his missus going around shopping in, I don't know, Madrid, looking at house hunting, or whatever it is. It's no club has a divine right for any professional footballer to play for them. It's a commercial deal between two entities, the player being a commodity and the club being the company who's going to rent that commodity for a certain amount of time. Now, the player is paid handsomely for what he's doing, but the club is receiving something back that's commensurate with what they're paying. They've put a value on it, and we're willing to pay you this for 4 to 5 years. And then coming towards the end of the contract, if a player starts flashing his gat at other teams and saying he wants to leave or he wants to go somewhere else. Yeah, I said gat. How can anybody say that he's a wanker, or why is he doing that, or he should stay with Liverpool, or he should be loyal to Liverpool, or he should be loyal to whoever? It doesn't really matter. And particularly nowadays with players being so powerful and so much money being involved. I mean, if Real Madrid were offering X player 80 grand more a week than he's getting at Liverpool, where he's going to get as much exposure commercially as a Real Madrid player, probably more than he would at Liverpool. That's like 4 million a fucking year. Why the fuck should he stay at Liverpool? Like, he's only played for only 15 years at the height of your earning potential. And so what is legacy? So what is legacy? Your legacy doesn't matter when you're 40 sitting beside the swimming pool. In my opinion.
Quick question though, back Neilo, I'll give you an example. Curtis Jones is an example. Obviously, he's been brought through by the club, and hopefully, his career goes in the same direction as it is at the moment. Do you think for young players who've essentially their careers have been made by a club, do you think they owe a little bit more loyalty?
No, I'll tell you why. Because if he wasn't good enough, or if he got injured at 17, if the club would have let him go, regardless, cold-heartedly let him go, and said, sorry, we can't keep you on anymore, go and find another club for yourself. So that's how it is, and everybody accepts that. So just because 2 or 3 get through out of the 500 or 600 that are trying to get through, the club don't know anything to those players, and those players don't know anything to the club either, because at the end of the day, you're an employee on a certain contract. I mean, like, if I was on a contract with someone else and someone offered me an extra 50 quid a week, I'd be gone like a hot snot.
50 quid, Neilo. Wow.
Yeah, I'd sell out for 10 smokes.
You're a cheap date, Neilo.
Unreal. 10 smokes and six bottles of Perlenbacher out a little. I'm gone.
So, Andy, we were starting to talk about Wijnaldum and whatnot. I mean, obviously, he may have desires to go and play in another country. He might decide that it changes what he needs. It may not be money driven at all. I mean, what's your opinion on players winding the contracts down?
Yeah, like often you're with Emery Chan, you're thinking, what's going on, lads? Like, why is he winding his contract down? What? Like, obviously there was a huge gulf and difference between what the club thought of Emery and what Emery thought of himself. But I can't imagine there's much of a difference between what Gini Wijnaldum thinks of himself and what the club thinks of him. I think there has to be a meeting of minds there somewhere in the middle. There has to be something that could be sorted out fairly close. When players wind their contracts down and they haven't contributed much to the club, it makes you angry. You'd forgive Wijnaldum because he's given so much. So it all depends on the player and what they've given to the club. No matter what happens with Wijnaldum, I'm never going to dislike him because of his contract situation. No way. I remember all the good things. I remember how important it has. I'll be pissed off at the club, because I think he's just so important that they need to do everything they can to keep him. And these considerations just need to be made for different players and what they've given to the club. I don't
think you can have a fella hanging around the place though with 2 bad knees and getting 250 grand a week, every fan's from a selfish point of view, the player is laughing his bollocks off, but that's not going to stop a fan from hating his guts.
It could be a situation where, like, Gini wants a change. He hasn't come out and said that because he doesn't want to rock any boats. He doesn't want to come out and start saying, listen, I kind of fancy getting off. He doesn't want to take stick out the fans. It's absolutely conceivable that him and his family think after a league win, a European Cup, hopefully another league win this year, and see how we get on in the other competitions, that he fancies a change. The only thing I would worry about for him as regards in a move is Like, it seems to be always Barcelona and Real Madrid, Barcelona and Real Madrid. You're like, when you go to them clubs, like, for instance, Barcelona were heavily linked with them, that Koeman wanted them. Koeman is out the door there in the summer, gone. He's getting the fucking bullet soon as whoever the new president comes in there after the elections. Koeman's gone. Right, so then Xavi or whoever comes in. Now, obviously, Genie will back himself to make himself part of any plans. But you could be very easily, like, after going there for 6 months, similar to, I know Coutinho was a fall off in form, but you go there thinking, this is the dream move for me, and next thing, a new manager is in 6 or 8 months later because of elections, and next thing you're out of the team, or as normally what happens in Barca or Real Madrid, you're only ever 2 or 3 weeks, 2 or 3 bad results away from the sack or a crisis, and then you're out of the team. So my worry for him there would be on a personal level that, say he does leave, I would be like, obviously you'd shake his hand if he couldn't say thanks very much for everything, but I'd hate to see him go somewhere and end up kind of fucking splinters on his hole because a couple of managerial changes come in and get sacked. I'd like him to go somewhere. I'd like him to stay because it's obviously stability is what we can give him. He's in the team. Like, he'll get enough games, and Andy has always said that there's always enough games to go around for players with injuries. The amount of competitions they're in, there's always enough games to go around. So I'd hope he stays. I'd love him to stay. It just seems to be, from all the kind of talk and the whispers, that the right maybe is in the wall, that he wants to go.
I think to hold that against him, Dav, as well, because he's given his best years of his career to Liverpool and he's won absolutely everything. Like, if he had wrote down a piece of paper what his goals were at Liverpool, he's ticked all them off. So if the fella wants to go and have a go in Spain, a bit of good weather for the last few years of his career, go for it, man. You know, I mean, I have absolutely no problem with that. It's same as kind of, I don't really want to get into the Salah thing because that's just papers talking shite. But if Salah wants to leave, I have absolutely no problem with that either, because currently, at the minute, he's arguably our best ever forward player. I'd argue he could possibly be. Well, I would hate to see him leave, but if he does choose to leave, that's his own choice. He's not fucking. He's like, the Bosman rule was brought in to stop players being held to clubs without anything, without like have slavery on the tip of my tongue, but I don't want to say it. But they were unlawfully held to their uncontractually bound to their club, and they're not anymore. So if they want to move on after everything he's done for Liverpool, how could anyone have a problem with that? And by the way, he's not going to go for free. If someone wants him, he's still under contract. They'll have to come across with, I don't know, 200 fucking million. I'd say he must be worth 200 million because he's an absolute phenomenal player.
Yeah, so he's not just a phenomenal
for him.
He's not just a phenomenal player, but when it comes to the global reach and, you know, selling shirts and marketing and so on and so forth, he's up there kind of, you know, he's not far behind the likes of Ronaldo and Messi. He is on your, you know, he is on your kind of your Pepsi adverts and the like, you know, he will.
We don't see how big of a reach he has commercially, yeah.
Yeah, he has. He's a global brand at this point, and that has some added value. I think just bringing it back to a football level, though, I think like we've seen it really through the fact that we've coped so well with these injuries, and we've been able to reshuffle the pack and even bring in a player like Jota and he's hit the ground running. Like, you would have confidence based on our track record of transfers that if it did come to Salah moving on, and look, I don't think anyone wants him to move on, but if it come to it, Andy, you have confidence. You wouldn't have those. You wouldn't be so down in the mouth as maybe you would have in the past when the likes of Suarez left at the time he did, or Torres left at the time he did. You would actually have some confidence that we wouldn't necessarily, it wouldn't necessarily cost us a league challenge, for instance, would you?
Yeah. No, I honestly think this is a bold statement. We'd end up being better off because that's what Klopp does. He's able to use whatever resource are available to improve the team. I don't want Salah to go like anyone else, but I don't think the money gets splashed on Mbappe, or I don't think it gets splashed on Sancho. They're two players they never see coming to Liverpool. I think he goes and he buys a younger up-and-coming player who has all the traits that they can get all sorts out of that we didn't expect as he does. and the team moves on, the team develops. Like Salah's 29, by the time Klopp leaves, Salah's definitely not going to be at the club. He's not going to retire at Liverpool. He's going to leave at some stage, whether it's next summer or the one after that. I don't think he'll leave this summer. I just don't think it's realistic. Where does he go? Who pays for him? Liverpool are still very much at their peak. I think there's a lot to happen before he leaves. I think he probably leaves the summer after that. But when he does leave, no matter what, we've got Jurgen as manager. We're going to end up being better off either way. I think it's a huge.
I think people are undervaluing how much of how good. I think I can't believe that people are saying it doesn't matter if he leaves, we'll replace him. I don't think he's that easily replaced.
I think the point, Neilo, is though he's 31 when he's gone. Do you know what I mean? I think that's kind of the point Andy is making. We're not like we don't want to sell him now. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, just kind of waiting to see how he fares out. It could be another
22.
Do you know what I mean? If it's 31 when he ends up going for fucking 70 or 80 million or whatever it is at that time, at that age or whatever, like I think that there's opportune times to sell, and it's like they used to say before, never buy a player off Bayern Munich because the chances are he's past his best. Well, I think after some of the deals and some of the money that we've got off teams for players, I think there'll be a lot around Europe saying, listen, don't sign a player off Liverpool because they're pulling your pants down. Do you know what I mean? We're that good. We've shown to be that good at transfers.
They're going to know. Liverpool are going to know before any of us know. They've got things strapped to the players these days. They're, you know what I mean? They've seen them every day in training. They're able to illustrate all these things and curves, and they know that Salah when he came in to Salah now is different in so many different parameters, and they'll find a sweet spot to sell him. They'll look at it from a financial perspective, and then look for it from a footballing perspective. And no matter what happens, we're going to be better off in the end. There's going to be a Klopp team Mark II, and it's going to be just as good, if not better, than the one we having at the moment. Because people need to relax and put the trust with players like Elliott coming up through, who like I think has a bigger ceiling than Sancho. Like this whole Sancho thing to me, just it blows my mind how overrated people have him. Where they stand him. He's being compared. Is it going to be Sancho or is it going to be Mbappe? Who's going to be that £150 million signing? Who's going to be that marquee signing? Look at what we have available to us. Look at what's coming up through. Elliott's going to be fucking quality. Wait and you see.
That's your bold prediction, is it?
I don't think it's that bold. I think he's a kid who was who had a Premier League cap when he was around 16 or 15, and he's got all those things about him that if he just has the right coaches, which he does, he's going to be anything.
Do you think he might have got quite a few significant minutes this season had he have hung around, Andy? I think there's a few players now who are out on loan thinking, if I'd have, managed to hang around for a little bit longer, I might have actually been able to make an impression. Maybe looking at players like Reece Williams and Nat Phillips and even Nico Williams getting some minutes.
Yeah, I mean, like the injuries are unpredictable. Certainly, he would have had an eye on buying, whether it was going to be Jota or Sarr, whoever was coming in, whoever he had plans for. That's why Elliott but that's a Brewster gets sold and Elliott goes on loan. They can't predict that Jota's going to pick up such a significant injury, and it's just as well we didn't really let Phillips go, wasn't it? Like we got lucky there.
Yeah, we did.
Like Jota, I genuinely didn't really know who he was when he signed for Liverpool. Really good, isn't he?
Yeah.
Did they?
I think. Listen, by all accounts, the loan has gone very, very well for Harvey Elliott. So I don't think it's I think it's a good move from going there. Yeah, he might have got minutes in certain games, and the likes of Mitchell and stuff like that, allowing us to rest maybe some more players. But I know you're not saying that, but I don't think the loan to Blackburn can be construed as a bad move for the club or the player so far. From by all accounts, when he's getting a couple of goals and he seems to be getting rave reviews.
Yeah, look at him. Look at the way the Elliott is for Blackburn is kind of like Curtis is for us. They're very so ballsy, like, you know what I mean. They just look like they have a future. I think you always know with a proper player that they hit the ground running. They don't doubt themselves. They back themselves completely. It's all these players who think they're it and they're not, that fall flat on their face, and people talk them up, and they disappear. They don't even have a wiki page in 2 years' time. I mean,
don't remember him.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. Just a little shithead that never amounted to anything.
He was shit, wasn't
he? Yeah, true enough. Look, I think the reality is that the likes of Curtis Jones coming through this season, the likes of Harvey Elliott waiting in the wings. I'm sure there's going to be
Elliott every time you say that.
I'm sure there's going to be a future at the club for Reece Williams and Nico Williams based on what we've seen.
He's been really impressive, hasn't he?
So far this season. And the flip side is these players who have exited the club, and we'll bring it back to loyalty there, and maybe not shown the level of loyalty. I think Emre Can be in the case in point, and Coutinho. The grass hasn't always been greener, has it? I mean, at the end of the day, we're back to these days of where leaving Liverpool now seems to be an inevitable downward step in players' careers, isn't it, Davo?
Yeah, look at I mentioned in the Genie point, like particularly when you go, like I said, to Barca, Real Madrid, you're not going to stability. Like Coutinho left us, he goes into the job and he has your man Valverde's managing them. They're doing okay. If he gets the bullet, really after our comeback, your man Kike Setien comes in. And then he doesn't want Coutinho at all. He loans him out then to Bayern Munich, where in fairness, he goes and wins the Champions League as a cog, really, not really as a main player in that side. Now he's back at Barcelona under Koeman, who was using him a bit at the start. Now he's not getting into the side for whatever reason after Koeman. I think Koeman was rumoured to have liked him. And look at the grass isn't always greener. Like Emre Can left us to go in leagues. Juventus ends up getting left out of our Champions League spot. Last year, now he's over at Borussia Dortmund eating balls of pasta, trying to run around. He's fat as a fucking
fool. You just up two Barcelona managers there that I've never heard of in my life. Yeah. You blow me away, mate. You blow me away. Keep me back.
And Louis Chan is as fat as a fool. He can't fucking move over there for Dortmund. So he's probably single-handedly after getting the manager sacked there last week from there.
Do you know why I'm glad Chan is gone? Because people were calling him Emre Can. Every time I heard that, I wanted to shoot my own face. No, fuck off. It's fucking Can. It's CAN, you tit.
But look, there was another comment thrown in there. We were all fretting about Ryan Brewster leaving. And look,
I think went to Barnsley. What was his name?
Quickly forgot about that. We've quickly forgot about Ryan Brewster. And look, he can't seen him come on there for Sheffield United. And
want to bring Richie Patrick back to the club out of retirement. And all. Don't let anyone go. They're all fucking great. You can't keep every cunt.
That's true enough, Neilo. But look, I mean,
how hard that was. Just remember that.
Brewster's now struggling with, a team.
It's like nowadays. Remember McManaman left.
When what, sorry?
When McManaman left the club.
Yes.
And he went to Real Madrid. The grass was greener then. The club weren't offering him a contract. And he is one of our best ever dribbler. Our most underrated footballer of the last 20
years. I loved him. What a fucking player.
What a fucking footballer. Like, he went to Real Madrid, 2 Champions Leagues. He scored in 2 finals, I think he did. Scored the winner in 1 anyway. But like, when he was at Liverpool, that was the talent was draining out of the club. We weren't looking after the players, weren't trying to keep them. The grass was greener elsewhere. And they were undervalued. Like, he's seriously undervalued. But nowadays, that is not the case. And I think we're paying as much wages as anywhere else. But I think the most important thing is they're getting as much exposure commercially at Liverpool as they would anywhere else. And that's in the main due to Klopp.
Yeah, it's massive.
Sure, he's sold 100,000 on his own.
And they're all, regulars in the national, teams, and they're in the squads every incident. I think that still has a certain element of importance for these players as well to be able to go and play for the countries. So look, we'll switch topics a little bit. We'll switch out of the out of the Liverpool talk for a little bit. We're going to go on to Davo's topic, which is around the promoted sides and the variation in styles that we've seen from the promoted sides. We've seen Leeds be taught a bit of a lesson. They were very naive yesterday against Manchester United, and United really, they turned into be the perfect opposition, the perfect prey for United, and were picked off quite easily. What have you made of the different styles and the different approaches this season, Davo?
Well, listen, I'd seen probably as much of Leeds as the rest of us. Obviously, from us getting them the first game of the season, it was all this. It's man to man. If you can get past the first press, they're very, very open, and they're going to stick to their guns. I listened to Gary Neville after the game yesterday, and he just said he hopes they don't change their system. He knows they won't through Bielsa. He's going to stick to that because they're great to watch. But they're also, his point was, they're also great to play against. Now, he caveated that by saying the United players would be sitting in there knowing that they were in a game, that they had to be switched on through the whole game because they just kept coming. Even at 4-1, they create a lot of chances and they concede a lot of chances. So, but I had a look at Leeds, and there's been a lot of talk there. Roy Keane was on punditry yesterday. He said he loves them, hopes to keep doing what they're doing. But I had a look yesterday. They've taken 1.21 points per game this season, and they've played everybody. They've played all the top sides. They've played everybody, which is Andy loves a little points per game shout. I know that, and it's that's comfortably staying in the league if you keep up that. And obviously, with a third of the season gone, having 2 tours left, and having played all the top sides, you'd expect them to take slightly more than that going forward. On kind of with Fulham, they kind of tried to, wouldn't say similar to Leeds, but they tried to play some open and expansive stuff early, and they were getting fucking walloped. They were far too open, and they kind of seemed to have changed because in the last 6 games, they've 3 draws. The last 3 games have been 3 draws, including against us. Low scoring draws. They lost 2-0 to City, and the other 2 defeats, 2-0 to City away for them is no shame really, and the other 2 defeats were by the odd goal. So they've obviously decided to kind of change tact, really to give themselves the best chance in the league. And then kind of going on to West Brom, I hadn't seen much of them. I just know they were obviously more expansive than they will be under Allardyce, because that's going to be hoofball to try and stay in the league. But I suppose the whole trying to tie it all in together, the whole point of it is will the fans accept? I think Gary Neville alluded to yesterday in his podcast after the game. Fans, you can win or lose, but don't be bored. And I just kind of wondering what people in the comments think as well. Would you be prepared? Would West Brom fans be prepared to go down if they were playing a more expansive, or if they stuck with Bilic, played a bit of expansive football, enjoyed what they were saying, but ultimately they weren't good enough? Or on the flip side, do they want Allardyce to come in, try this hoofball, and it's his MO, isn't it? Stay in the Premier League, and then, do you know what I mean? It's it's horses for courses. Everybody is different. I think personally,
I'm going to take a wash out of the washing machine here now, because I don't know anything about them 3 teams.
What are all them chains hanging down? What are all them chains?
It is a fucking space.
What are all them chains he has hanging?
That's the sex wing.
Seriously, what
I
is
thought
that?
I thought they were antennas sticking out of his head there. But the one thing about we've got West Brom coming up, so I'm really reluctant to say anything too negative about them. But they've been undermined by a series of red cards this season. There was 2. Whilst Bilic was in charge against Everton and Palace, which completely changed the complexion of them games. And again, I thought it was quite ironic that Big Sam comes in to try and do his job, and it's completely thrown off the rails by another really bad challenge, which deserved the red card. So I think, look, I say we're playing West Brom. I don't really want to say, I don't want to jinx it by saying that they look like they've got an uphill struggle to get enough points. But I guess Big Sam being at the helm, he always manages to find a way to get out of it. But for me, Leeds, I don't know. I mean, maybe they will have enough, but you don't.
Not the same close as they got rid of Graham Ricks.
Since they got Greg.
With a pack of the sweets and a wink and a smile. I wasn't going to finish it, don't worry.
But look, I think to me, Sheffield United are just they're gone. You know, they've just completely lost their way. I think they'll probably stick with Chris Wilde. That they'll be we'll come back onto loyalty. I think they'll be loyal, possibly for a bit longer than many teams would, and I think that will probably cost them ultimately. I think they'll probably end up making the change when it's too late. They seem to be gone. So for me, it looks like there's only 2 more spaces remaining, and you wouldn't be surprised if the other 2 promoted, if the promoted clubs all stayed up this season. What's your view, Andy?
Yeah, no, just actually looking at the league here. I think West Brom, although Sam's going to keep them up because that's just what he does. It's just a bad move. You know what I mean? Give a manager time, and you're gonna reap the benefits in the end. But looking at what else is possible, like Sheffield United are gone. They don't even look like they give a shit anymore. After that, then you've Burnley, Fulham, Brighton. I think they're the other 3 that will go down. Arsenal get themselves out of trouble. Leeds are too good at the moment. I think they've a danger about them that they're capable of winning games. Like those teams below them aren't capable of winning games. Arsenal are capable of winning games. And then you've above them Palace, Newcastle. They've shown this season they can pull off results. And then you're into the likes of Villa and Wolves, who we've seen take points off teams. So it's going to be between. I don't see West Brom going down now under Allardyce. It's going to be Sheffield United are gone. So it's going to be between Burnley, Fulham and Brighton.
The mad thing is, if you look at the league table, we're only 14 games in, and you've got up to almost Palace, really, all the way to 13. They've almost got enough, like what you would call half the amount of points that would be needed to stay up.
15
after 14 games. Down to 15th in Arsenal, you're going to say they will take points off top teams. I know Arsenal are absolutely shite all season, but eventually they're going to get their shit together. They're going to have a spell. They're going to take points off somebody, and that's down to 15th of the league. And then they'll change the manager, and that will get the desired effect. You know, but I'm worried about playing West Brom now. But at this stage, I know they got thumped Sam's first game, but the second game now. He's going to be, I just fear these things. Like, it might be the one result they get all season, and it'll fucking, be us. And he hates us anyway.
Like Watford last year.
He absolutely hates us. He's the last manager to win at Anfield when he was in charge of Palace.
He'll keep up.
Well, look, but I suppose the question is, though, like what I was going to say is, do you think, like, what way would you be as regards if you were a fan of one of them clubs? Would you be happy to go down watching your team play a decent bit of football, or would you rather someone make the change and come in and try and stay up with a epoxy brand of football, say like Allardyce? Like, for instance, I know, like Houllier in 2001, we didn't play great football, but I didn't give a fuck. We were winning trophies. I didn't give a bollocks.
I think
give a game yourself.
I think teams that have come up promoted have got punished. They were trying to play football with the big boys. You have to put a program together for 3 or 4 years where you play football not to lose, and establish yourself as a Premier League club. And we've seen lots of teams there that you never would have imagined staying up that have managed to do it. And then as time goes on, money starts coming in, and then start looking at developing the team into something that can play a bit of football and entertain the fans again. I think it's important that they just try and stay up, and any brand of football, really. As much as it's painful to watch, But
It is the flip side.
So anyone says that I'd rather go down and watch me club not play beautiful football. That's great to look at as a fucking moron. Of course, you want to stay up and play in the big leagues with all the big boys.
Well, I don't think that's always true. To be honest with you,
You're right. It's not always true. Yeah.
No, I give you a case in point, and the case because I knew a guy for many years who was a big Norwich fan, and obviously they come up and went down numerous times over the years, and he was adamant that the fans at their club would rather stick to their philosophy, which got them up from the Championship, than change completely and do a Sam Allardyce type of move. And again, it's happened. You know, it's happening right now. You know, they stick to their philosophy. They won a lot of fans. They didn't win a lot of points. They went straight back down, and there they are sitting top of the Championship again.
Well, like Ipswich was the same, right? With Mick McCarthy, like you used to just keep an eye on it because Mick McCarthy was there. He was like I think they'd like the 6th lowest budget in the league, and he used to be knocking on the door for the playoffs every year. And he got sacked. And I read a lot of tweets from fans going, they were happy he was gone because the comments were basically, listen, you haven't had to sit and watch what we've had to watch for the last X amount of years. So there is, like you said about your mate from Norwich, there is definitely fans out there that would prefer to see some football being played, and whatever results come with that, come what may, and they'll deal with it.
Yeah, and like some of these teams, the yo-yo, like the effect is at least they get then to spend the season where they're winning pretty much every week. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the case. You can go out for a game of football tomorrow with a load of 12-year-olds. You know what I mean? And think you're a great fella. Then you end up on a list somewhere. Maybe not. Don't go out and play football with 12-year-olds. But my point is, like, why would you want to play at a lower level and not go and play the best league in the world? Although why alter your game style a little bit, and have a 6-year plan, like Andy was saying, so you can kind of gradually get back to where you were. I mean, suppose when you play the same football in the Premier League as you do in the Championship is just insanity.
When you get like Norwich fans are so used to playing in the Championship that it doesn't really bother them. Like that they maybe for a set of fans and Laura Duffy there makes a good. And I haven't read this before, but Norwich have said they want to be in the top 24 clubs every year. I mean, that's not a bad thing, is it? Like, you know, if they're happy to go down, happy to come back up and have some good time, celebrating promotion, celebrating wins every week in the Championship, and then and they're just accepting that they're going to get their arse torn off them in the Premier League. That's fair enough. But now you've got Leeds, who they spent so many years trying to get back in, like, you know, I don't know, 15, 16 years out of top flight. They need to be thinking about just surviving. And at the moment, their type of football will catch up on them. It's only this season we've got probably 6 teams below them that are so poor. But next season they're probably going to, need to look at maybe altering their style and just go into survival mode. And Leeds, if they spend a few years in the Premier League playing that sort of strategy, they're gonna benefit from it. They're gonna stay up because they've got the fan base, they've got the ground that's big, and they've got the attraction, they've got the name. They can re-establish themselves in the league quite easily. The shit falling off the Christmas tree because it's
smashing our windows. You also want a few quid.
God, that's what happened to the Christmas tree early. It started all draping down before Christmas.
I mean, Norwich fans should be shouting on about their proudest moments when Jeremy got scored in the Olympic Stadium against Bayern Munich from outside the box. That fucking Egypt, or whatever their name is.
I think the second best moment is beating Liverpool, the last game in front of the Kop. They bang on about that an awful lot as well.
That's where it's how you're setting your goals. Then you know, I mean, you're no use to anyone.
Yeah. But I think Fulham, to be fair, seem to be trying to alter the style without. I mean, anyone got any strong? Neilo's pulling faces at Scott Parker.
It's just purely because of his face. He's just want to fucking. Don't he? That's that face. You just shut up, you. Oh, yeah. Apart from that, that's the only thing I know about Fulham, and we played them recently there.
We did.
They've been a bit more pragmatic.
Advantage, Ray.
Yeah, well, yeah. So, I mean, look, we'll get on to the fan advantage, shall we? We'll move it on. We'll get back to Liverpool because I wanted to discuss this because I think we have got the advantage in many respects. I think one of the things for me when we played Spurs last week, I thought the crowd did give us a little bit extra. I did think we were relentless. I know Spurs had the chances, but and then you see Bobby at the end when he scores and the lift and is running towards the Kop. I think there is something in it. Everton have played very well, surprisingly in some respects, because we did play down the fact that fans coming back for Everton would be an advantage. We actually thought it'd be the opposite, but I think their crowd, looking at the games that they've played at home, I think their crowd have given them a bit of a lift, to be honest.
Everton are in fourth, fucking hell.
Yeah. And I think, look, I haven't sat down and analysed the results. There was obviously a lot more games when they initially allowed fans back in the ground that were allowing fans in, and now that's diminished down to only a handful of clubs, including Liverpool and Everton. But I think the stats would probably back up that there hasn't been that many home teams with fans in the ground that have lost at this stage. I think West Ham being the notable one against Man United, but you could never consider West Ham having a big home advantage at the best of times. But I just think it's interesting. Will we in a league where we've seen clubs at various points moaning about perceived advantages or disadvantages? You just wonder how long people will be able to stomach the fact that the likes of Liverpool and Everton, maybe for the next 6-8 weeks, even beyond, will be lucky enough to have maybe the only teams that have fans in the ground. And I just wonder, is the justification for some of them teams to actually say, some of the other teams who are not able to have fans, to say we need to level this playing field and go back to all games behind closed doors? What's your take on it, Andy? I deliberately come to you because I see you took them.
The bar staff are coming around. No, yeah. Look, I remember reading on Twitter a lot that Liverpool had gone into a higher tier than the rest of the country at one stage, and there was huge complaints, and now Liverpool are reaping the benefits from it. They got their shit sorted, they got their cases down, and all of a sudden we fans going to the games. But this whole COVID thing has been working in cycles. Liverpool are going to go to a higher tier in a couple of months or in a matter of weeks, and then somebody else is going to get the benefit, and that's the way it's going to work for the rest of the season. I do think it's a distinct advantage when you have fans. It really is, though, and I would be very pissed off if I was one of the teams that haven't had a fan in all season so far. And you've Liverpool who've had 2 games now, is it?
2 league games, yeah.
2 league games and everything as well. The fans have held through games. I mean, it's on the players' minds. Like, look at the way Firmino reacted. And I see in the comments there, Joseph Welch says that have they noticed Bobby's form changing since the introduction of crowds, and it might help some of the younger players as well. It definitely is a factor. Like, these players are football fans themselves, and they can relate to that passion that's being thrown in from the stands. So it is going to be shown up as a kind of a 12th man.
Yeah, and I think also the 2,000 fans that are getting in, Davo, I think they're so grateful to be back in the ground. I think that any of the dissenting voices that might be in a normal crowd if a game isn't going in a certain way, probably not there. Everyone's going with a head full of positivity. I think that gives a bit of extra impetus, doesn't it, at various points in games, that you've got 2,000 fans who are just so glad to be in there supporting the team.
Oh, exactly right. Sure, like everyone was in the same boat as regards watching games at home. That behind closed doors ones. Very, very lucky, like Andy said, to be able to. Liverpool did get their act together through the vast testing across the city, and got their act together. And now the both clubs are able to have fans in, and the fans have been they've been excellent. I think. Klopp has alluded to it. Obviously, he was asked about it straight away when they came back in, and how much of a lift that the players got from it. And the players and the fans will both feed off each other there. Like if the players are getting a huge lift, Bobby was mentioned already after his goal, sprinting down towards the Kop. And of course, like why would you go? Why would you be one of the lucky 2,000 to have a ticket there and go there to get on the team's back? It just makes no sense. It would make no sense at all. Yes, listen. There could be 2,000 there when things don't go right. But I think that if things weren't going right with the 2,000 there, you'd even get a more reaction for them to try and get the team back into it. It just would make no sense to go there and not give it your all to get behind the team. Really, you know what I mean? It just make no sense.
Yeah, John O's saying we deserve fans in more than anyone because of how COVID's kind of screwed us in terms of lifting that league title.
How shit would it be? It was 2 years in the trot without fans.
Yeah. I think already we've seen Klopp at the end of the games go up to the crowd and do his little fist pumps. Like he doesn't care now if the camera's on him or not. He's gonna savor every opportunity he can, because he probably knows that it's possible that this doesn't last for the whole season. I've seen a comment thrown in there that they believe there's no chance that there's fans there for the United game on this. Barry saying no chance fans there for the United game on January the 16th. Even if there isn't fans in the stadium, Neilo, 66 games at home in the league, unbeaten. It doesn't seem to matter whether there's, and obviously there's a lot of games there without fans. It doesn't really seem to matter at the end of the day if there's fans or not for us, though, does it?
It's absolutely incredible. I mean, 66 matches. I mean, it's hard to fathom that, isn't it? Really, it's hard to understand. It's that many games. I think Andy alluded to it there, that you said about it affecting some of the players. I think the way young lads coming through and making their debut, it must be really hard for them. Well, not hard for them, but it's not what you dreamt of when you were a kid coming through at Liverpool, is it, to play in front of an empty stadium? I mean, you want to hear them singing "You'll Never Walk Alone" or chanting or whatever. Maybe not your name, but you want to soak it up. So it's a bit of a damn squib for them, I would have thought, more than anyway. The older lads can handle it. If Bobby's only playing well now because there's fans in the stadium, he needs to get his finger out of his fucking Swiss. He's getting fucking hundreds of grand a week, for fuck's sake. You don't need lads telling you you're bleeding great, fuck's sake. Just get on with it. I don't think that's the case, hardly. His teeth are massive. But I think it's harder for the younger lads rather than older players, to be honest with you. And the 66 games at home is just fucking mad. It's incredible. Like, Jesus, when is it going to end? It's like
it is. It
is. Jesus, Neilo.
Big Sam on the horizon, and you come out with something like that. When's it going to end?
But Big Sam, he'll keep Liverpool up. Not Liverpool, West Brom.
Neilo, what are those things hanging behind you?
They're fucking candy canes, man.
Give us a look at
candy canes.
You know, like Christmas candy canes.
Take one down.
All right, then. Yeah, where do you want one?
All right.
Ah, there you go. Bit more.
Are the
context.
actual
Chris
candy?
would say, context.
The size of them fucking things.
Candy canes.
Can you eat them?
The mint ones, yeah, the mint in the middle and kind of sweet on the outside.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Wow.
And instead of
fucking amazing,
deadly.
Will you actually eat one of them all by yourself?
Only if I'm a little bit depressed and it's the time of the month and I'm watching Love Hate, and not Love Hate. What's it called? Love Actually.
Love Actually. I never watched that.
It's shit, Andy.
Come here. We were looking for a fifth topic.
We were looking for a fifth topic. Yeah, we got one.
I've seen two that have stood out, and one is about United, whether they're actually going to beat that threat, and the other one was about an idiot's guide to wrapping presents. I think I could help with the wrapping presents one.
God, you're an idiot.
Here we go.
If you want. No,
let's cover both. United the threat, Davo.
You know, the threat.
Threat to what?
Everyone, you know me, Ray, from my WhatsApp messages. Every team that wins after we win is the threat. Yeah, look, listen, going forward, and squad depth wise, like they've Cavani, Van der Beek, they've a lot of squad. The thing that's going to hold them back is their back four and goalkeeper and their manager.
And Harry Maguire, he's so shit.
Yeah, listen, are they good enough to put a run together? Yeah, sure, they're on a good run at the minute. Are they better than us? No. Have they a better managers? Absolutely not.
So did Desi O'Meara on a good run there, but he's had to do 25. He got caught in the end, the border fox.
And you know the threat. Listen, they're what would you call it? They're in the pack.
They're in the mix.
They're in the pack. They're in the pack behind us.
They're in the mix. Andy, the last away game United lost in the league was at Anfield. Yeah, we're playing them in a few weeks' time. Do you think we beat them?
Yeah, I do. Look, it's good that we're talking about different threats every week. You know what I mean? Spurs went from being our being our absolute only rivals for this league, from being top of the league, to people talking about them now, not even finishing in the top four. Like, that's the standard. I still think that the only team that matches will be City, but they're falling so far behind now. They can get their shit together and they can climb up there. At the way the league is at the moment, out of nowhere, I really do think City be the ones that will be the threat and no one else. But in any one given game, yeah, any other of those top teams are the threat. Like, we could have easily got beaten by Spurs of Harry Kane or those other chances were taken. So
Bergwijn, yeah.
But yeah, Bergwijn as well, especially. But I think we've got way too much quality for United to be beaten. I hope I don't live to regret that comment, but they are so far behind us in every department. Defensively, our hunger, the pressing, we can annihilate them this season. They haven't got the bottle. They haven't got the mentality that we have. The Maguire, like, put a bit of pressure on him and he's falling on his arse. You can lose any game of football, but they are not even close to us in terms of quality. But yet they're only win their game in hand. They're only about 2 points off us. We're going to get stronger and stronger and string runs together. They're going to get found out again, and they'll drop a couple of points here and there, and they'll fall off. So don't worry about them. Don't worry about them, but especially when they depend so heavily on certain players like Fernandes. Like that game against Leeds, they've all of a sudden believed that they might be title challengers again, but Leeds are the perfect opposition for them. We said it earlier. If they played Leeds every single week, they probably win the league. But unfortunately, they're going to play teams of all different types and all different qualities, and all teams they're going to test our weaknesses, and we'll test our weaknesses. Guaranteed.
Well, 3 games over Christmas for them. Leicester away, Wolves at home, and Villa at home. I mean, I think they're actually vulnerable at home.
Leicester's the easiest game of that 3 for
Yeah.
The way
Leicester could beat them. Leicester could still beat them. You know,
I think some of the results you see.
We're talking about, you know, the problems they have is when teams sit deep and they give them the ball. They have to break teams down. You see what they done to the likes of Leipzig, Leeds yesterday. If you're open and you attack them, they're going to eat you alive because, like, their front three is quality. Fernandes is quality, but if you give them the ball and expect and say to them, right, come and break us down. Yeah, they have quality. Not saying that they won't beat you, but it's not what they want to do. It's their identity is kind of at the minute is counter attacking stuff, which probably isn't good enough for them. Especially at home, they like, especially obviously at some stage when fans come back in, they'll be under pressure to be taking the game to teams, and that doesn't suit them at all. It just doesn't suit them at all.
Yeah, Barry's also saying there that Leicester have a free week, and United obviously going for the cup. Has a few other teams up near the top are going for the Carabao Cup this week and having to squeeze in that extra game.
Because Barry's misses they're all going to Cartware for the trial. They're all going as moral support. What a load of cock that is. Has anybody read that? Mother of divine Jesus Christ. 2 fucking mats. One suing the other. Why doesn't the 2 lads just say, listen, you two, shut the fuck up?
More tabloid talk from Neilo.
Fuck me. I couldn't believe it. I was saying it to me outfit earlier and nearly put the car in the ditch. They want the name of Jesus. Women, they just want to be fucking on the front pages. Classic.
But look, I'm going to bring it back to football. I'm going to bring it back to football. I'm going to quickly come on to Leicester because they're playing United next. Leicester have got the strangest set of results that I think I've ever seen in any recent league campaign. You know, they're losing games at home against teams that they should beat, and then they're going to, you know, opposition's grounds and picking them off left, right, and centre. It's just weird, isn't it, Andy?
Yeah, I thought is it just weaknesses in Rodgers' locker? I don't know. Is he just not pragmatic? Is he just got the one way of playing football, and if it doesn't work out, or if they concede an early goal, they can't go on to win games? Is it a mentality thing? They're definitely quality. Like, they definitely can take points off teams. They definitely can beat United, but they can also get absolutely fucking bounced by them as well. It is crazy. I mean, I like that. What?
I don't understand how he can say that. Like, Leicester are in second. Like, Rodgers, fantastic job.
They're in second through the. If you look through the results, they're in second off the back of a crazy mix of results where they've.
I mean, and we drew 1-1 with Fulham there. Was it 1-1? Yeah, we drew with Fulham not so long ago. Like, there's aberrations going to happen all season long because of the year that's in it. But I think
for Leicester, it's consistent.
Chris wants to say hello.
I just want to say hello to Neilo. It's been a while. Neilo, I love you. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. All of you. If I don't speak to you in the WhatsApp in the next few days, as there's a very good chance I won't. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Love you all. You're all the best. LFC Daytrippers family, up the Reds.
Oh, brilliant, Grizz.
Nice, Chris.
Kick me out now. Kick me out now, Andy.
Merry Christmas.
That was like one of them lads leaving, they're going to do a suicide.
Look,
that was lovely. That was lovely.
Look at that. You know, it's got Nay, Rajiv, Stephen. You know, everyone's made up that Grizz has made a guest appearance there. He's making other guest appearances with other.
Come here. I was pissing myself laughing at the Magnificent Seven pod last night. The Grizz was talking about when he went to Selhurst Park, and Gav says to him, "It's like you made a guest appearance and everyone was there expecting you." And he was going on about like, no, it really was like they were all making memes about him, and do you not remember this and do you not remember that? If you haven't listened, catch up. It was fucking.
I haven't listened in the morning.
Yeah, it was quality.
Listen, yeah. Merry Christmas.
Absolutely great pod, lads. I'll listen tomorrow.
I'll join you.
Remember we were here for the Liverpool were here. Who was it? Were they playing Rovers? I think in pre-season. Yeah. I was wherever we were meeting beforehand. There was a bit of a thing. I was in having a few gags, went to the toilet having a piss, and some fella says to me, "Are you on the LFC Daytrippers? Are you on Neilo?" And I thought, "Fuck you!" I said, "Fuck off, you wait me, will you?" I thought it was some type of weirdo follow me in the jacks to ask me who I am. Anyway,
who was that?
I don't know who it was. I don't know. It was a bit weird. Anyway,
thought there was an end to that story.
Yeah.
No,
it's just mad weird.
Kill story, bro.
Say you had to be there, Neilo.
Yeah, sounds like it.
So we're going to finish up, seeing as we got on to Christmas and Merry Christmases and guest appearances and so on and so forth. We'll go back to that other topic you mentioned, Andy, around wrapping Christmas presents, I
was like a disgraceful present wrapper. I was like, I put everything like in like it was a Christmas cracker, like just wrapped the paper around them and done twists and turns. It was a mess. But the key is folds. Make folds. Don't expose edges. If you stick by that, you won't go wrong. So when you wrap your present up and you're about to do the first kind of bit of sellotape at the top, fold the bit you're going to sellotape down, and then when you get to the sides, make sure the edges are hidden, and you won't go wrong. It's not very hard. Once you stick by that principle, always fold. Don't show edges. You won't go wrong. That's my tip of the day.
And would you get upset, Andy, if you weren't impressed with your first attempt? Would you scrap it and move and try again?
I wouldn't try again, to be honest with you. I just try and get it right the first time around. I seem to do more wrapping at Christmas than I do opening. Does anyone else feel like that?
No, but I'd say your skill books are perfectly covered in the wallpaper, Andy. Where do you skill?
Look, you grew up in a deprived area like me yourself, and we did unfortunately have to go to school with the embarrassment of having wallpaper on our maths book.
So did I, by the way. Wasn't it a Dublin thing? It was a Liverpool thing as well. If you went to a half respectable comprehensive.
Well, wood chip wallpaper, you're like, oh man, you have no socks, you've no hole in your shoes. You're calling the next door dinner, aren't you, on a Sunday?
Yeah, I remember the posh kids in the school from the other areas.
They had brown paper.
No, brown paper was fairly tenement too.
Yeah, with brown paper.
Yeah,
I thought I'd made it when my ma wrapped me books with brown paper.
Do you know the way? Your kids nowadays? Our kids go to school with that laminated clear stuff, right? That's the standard these days. Like everybody just gets that stuff. But back in the day, there was kids going to school with laminated clear paper, and their books were immaculate. They were fucking savage, and I didn't know what it was. Like, I just went home to my ma, like saying, like, this is killing me going to school. Like, I've got flowery wallpaper, and there's kids coming to school with really neat clear stuff like cling film. My ma wrapped me books in cling film. She wrapped me books in cling film, and I had to go to school like with me. Yeah, cling.
Your lunch in there as well.
What?
Your lunch in there as well.
Like a sandwich wrapped up like me. I'd got books like, and everyone was laughing at me. Lads, I was back
I say that about being embarrassed going to school, right? When I was starting in Moyle Park in Clondalkin in secondary school, they had the crest on it with the round tower in Clondalkin stitched into it, right? So my man wouldn't put the jumper with the stitch professionally stitched into it. She got the woman across the road to do it, right? So the round tower was kind of like on my son's eye, like the leaning tower piece, and it was done with wool, not with thread. And it didn't. It just looked like a big fucking flute up in the air sideways like that. And I went to school on the first day of school like that, and everybody was there. Look at this fucking peasant.
Oh, it's heartbreaking, isn't it? Like, and what, like,
look at the joke.
What were our parents thinking? You just wouldn't inflict that on your children these days. Did they not get bullied like us? Like, you know what I mean? There's absolutely no way I'd make that mistake with my kids going to school now. Like, no way. No fucking way.
My man got guitar lessons, and my man sent me without a guitar.
You wouldn't make a bad.
Buying you a guitar unless you stick at these lessons. So if you stick at them, I'll buy a guitar, right? And this is true, God. I was sitting in the lessons like that, doing like that with no guitar, right? Like ding ding ding. We were saying, honest to God, right? The song we were learning was a long-haired lover from Liverpool. You'd be a long-haired lover, and your mum was coming out with me. No, Neil, you need to get it. This is a D. He was fixing me fingers, and I was like, "That have I got it?" And I was with no guitar. I was like, "Yeah, is that it?" He said, "No, Neil, your fingers are wrong."
I think we now know what happened, Neil. I think this is gone a long way to explain what we're witnessing right now.
Neil.
And the run, I mean, you wouldn't make the mistake with your kids now with runners, would you? You would be so conscientious about making sure that the runners with the correct brand and the correct kind of style, wouldn't you?
Yeah, no,
don't slip up with me. You're school with Moncler jackets on, so.
They're like kids are like scientists when they come to the brands and what's our place. Like we're all like, oh yeah, no, the Nike fucking jersey from Delix, China's fucking perfect. That's perfect. Those kids can smell it coming down the road from 100 yards. They're going, here he comes now. This is a special. This is DH Gate all over. Look at it tick.
Yeah, right.
And they can smell the tread. It's just not right. They know. So if you watch out, lads, come on.
It's like your man getting the fucking the KVI Frosties when you're in school. They're the same. They taste the exact same. You taste them and they taste like dog shit.
But it's weird, isn't it? Like, what's with this rise of pennies? You know, back in the day, if you went to pennies or you came to school in pennies, shoes or runners, you might as well forget about it. Don't come back.
You'll get fed your own shot by half 12.
You would be fed your own shit, and you'd have a nickname to go with it. You know, and but now, like, you've got these kids now, like, are mad into going into pennies and queuing overnight and spending fortunes in pennies. Like, you know what I mean?
It's rob shit.
Yeah. You know, like,
some of the lads are unloading here. Chris Brack is saying he wore Arrow trainers and football boots. He should have worn a t-shirt saying "Bully me." We got someone else owning up to having to wear high tech. I mean,
I was made wear high tech as well.
I'm traumatized when my first pair of football boots are Dunlop, and my family told me that Ian Rush wears Dunlop boots.
He does this
Yeah, and it wasn't as easy to just Google things. Like, you had to wait till there was a close up in the magazine.
Yeah,
and when I fucking found out they were Nike and not Dunlop, I was pissed off the bits. Like, you know, it was totally upside down.
Were they proper Dunloppers? Like, were they proper ones?
Absolutely. Now, I scored a lot of goals in them. I scored a lot of goals. But it's funny, like, it's funny how
you're wearing Dunlops. That's why you scored loads of goals.
they had a bell on the ball. Quality, David Lennon.
Some blaster in the past there, goaler.
They're saying you are high techs, really?
What?
Davo, you are high techs, really?
Yeah, high techs. Yeah, football boots. First pair of football boots are mitre, I think. And you know, down in O'Neill's, Andy, we used to go into the basket, and if you found a matching one, you rooted into this basket, and if you found a matching one, they were for about £4. Yeah. They were about £4. Oh, yeah, mitre.
Oh, sure. Do you remember O'Neill's were like the Povers gear?
Yeah.
Anyway,
like, you know, the brand of the two stripes. What?
You can pay for O'Neill's with your butter vouchers.
Premium stuff now, lads.
It's just it's weird. It's weird how it's all gone. Like, you know, kids will go to pennies and they'll be shameless about it. They'll be head to toe in pennies, and then, like, they'll have a Gucci handbag. Like, you know what I mean? It's fucking mad. You know,
Yeezys or some shit. Yeah.
Yeah. I want this. I want a Gucci handbag. I want this. I want that.
Are the young fellas now in all their football boots? They're not wearing high techs or mitres now anymore. No, kids.
I never wore high tech.
The lads in the Leinster Senior League are rocking up into the dressing room now with Beats and a fucking Gucci carrier bag. Like, all the best players I played with turned up in football boots and a fucking Super Queen bag. No shin guards. Anyone got shin guards, lads? Like, they were the best players.
Anyone selling out of weed to buy a pair of Beats to go out playing football on Sunday morning, that's nothing impressive.
Yeah,
it's a pandemic.
Right, look, we're gonna wind it down. Look, it was good to get a bit of a different topic there at the end, and kind of move into other areas. This may be what we have to start discussing when football maybe starts to disappear again in front of our eyes for a little while. Hopefully it won't come to that. Hopefully everyone out there will have a great Christmas, make the best of what's ahead of us with all the restrictions. Stay safe, take care of one another. We'll be here again on the other side of Christmas. All the best to everyone out there, to the Day Tripper listeners, viewers, everyone who keeps us going. I'm sure Gav will endorse a lot of what I'm saying here. We'll see you again for the forum. We're going to start losing track of the days and what next Monday actually really is, but I think it's probably going to be a clear enough day for us to have a show next Monday, and I guess we will probably at that point be discussing hopefully the 67th unbeaten league game at Anfield, and seeing the back of Big Sam and Little Sam. What's
You're
that?
gonna lead us into that show with a guitar solo.
They have got their stitching us up there. They go with that one already. We know what happens. The run is over.
The run is over. We can pick the bones out of whatever way it falls. Yeah. Right. All the best, everyone. Merry Christmas, and we'll see you.
Everybody, all the best.
All the best.